Hi YouTube! Happy Black History Month again. Hopefully it's still Black History Month by the time I'm able to edit and upload this. So, I do not always have time to read full-length novels, so I am very much a fan of the short story genre because I don't have to worry about, like, I don't know, reading 3 chapters and then neglecting it for 2 weeks and then not knowing what the hell happened when I come back to it. So yeah, short story recommendations. The last book that I read was a short story collection. It's called At Risk, and it is about young adults and kids, I guess ranging from 6 years old up to like 17 or so. I was thinking when I was reading this that one of the things that I don't like about young adult fiction is that it's very much teen land and characters who are other ages aren't very well developed and stuff. I guess adult literary fiction I feel is better about writing people from all sorts of different age groups. But anyways, we have an interesting range of characters. I really liked this one story, which was about a little girl about 6 or so and her older brother. Her mom had broken up with her older brother's father because he was addicted to heroin, but now he's like writing all these sweet letters about how he's in rehab, he's getting his life together, and she's like, oh, I don't want to deal with that, but slowly she wants to let him in. At one point, one of the characters called this guy a junkie, and she's like, I don't think that's true. I've never seen you eat candy. So it's told with that sort of innocence. Little 6-year-old is not quite aware as her older brother is of those things. Oh yeah, and there's also this short story about a girl who's like one of the only black girls at an elite private school, and she was there on scholarship, so she lives in like the hood, but she goes to this elite private school, and she's like caught between 2 worlds because she can't really relate to the kids at her home, but then at private school she's kind of treated, either she's ignored or the girls who don't ignore her kind of treat her as this commodity. I thought it was interesting, showed very different sides of like everything that encompasses what being at risk is. I really enjoyed that short story collection. My only problem with it was that most of the stories did not have endings, so I felt like I was kind of left hanging, like, okay, what now? And I wanted to talk to you about, I'm sure that this is probably part of some short story collection that I personally never read. I just read this one story by itself, which is by Baldwin, Sonnys Blues. It's about this relationship between 2 brothers. We have the narrator. The story is told in first person. We never know the main character's name. And I thought that was very interesting because you actually learn more about Sonny, the main character's younger brother, than you actually learn about the main character. It's interesting because you know there is a lot there. He mentions in passing how like his daughter had died and how he was married, but more is focused on Sonny. So the older brother, he's, I don't know, how do you say straight? I mean like straight as in, you know, the straight and narrow. Whereas the younger brother, he's like the more unconventional one. He is a musician, he is addicted to heroin, and he's not just written as a fuck up, he's written as this really smart guy who grew up in very sad circumstances and turned to drugs, and the brother doesn't quite know why, even though they both grew up in the same neighborhood, had some of the same problems. But there is that disconnect between the brother who has never been a part of this drug world and the younger brother who is struggling. He is no longer using heroin, but he does feel that there could be a time in the future where he might turn back to it. He doesn't like trust that he'll be sober forever. So it's like, how do you be there for somebody in a situation like that? I'm guessing, considering that we don't know much about why the main character's daughter died or, you know, much about his life, then maybe he feels the same pain that Sonny feels, but he just kind of clamps up. I really loved reading about Sonnys Blues, you know, the music, and it was really beautiful reading about how the main character kind of feeling all of that grief of his daughter dying and kind of feeling a way through listening to his brother's music, a way to deal with his issues. The next short story collection I want to talk to you about is Drinking Coffee Elsewhere, which is by ZZ Packer. Again, a really good range of characters who are children, teenagers, in college, full-blown adults. I really like this story about the teacher. She just wants money. She wants a job, so she just decides to go through getting her teacher credentials, and she ends up at this school that's not great. She's not that great of a teacher. Her students don't listen to her, and she's just kind of tired of this bullshit. You know, there are teachers who have really good intentions, of course, but there are also those teachers who are very disillusioned to it. I know that unfortunately a lot of teachers quit after 2 years. It's such a hard job. And there was another story. It was about this girl who grew up in a really strict family, and she runs away to another city. When I was reading that, I was really worried for her. I was scared that she would be approached by a pimp, because I know that there's some awful statistic about teen runaways and about how within the first 24 hours a lot of them are solicited by pimps and then end up getting sex trafficked. So I really thought that the story was going to go in that direction. But yeah, it's a good story. I don't want to spoil you about that story. There was just one story that I didn't like at all, and that was a story about the main character going to Japan and staying there past her visa and not having a job and not really having anywhere to live or a way to find food for herself. And I guess my main problem was that I didn't understand the main character's motivations. I didn't understand what she wanted or why she decided to stay in Japan. Like, I understand that she got a job at first and then she stayed so that she wouldn't just be working in Japan, she'd have vacation. But when it got to the point where she was homeless and didn't have any food or a job or anything like that, it was like, okay, so is there nobody that you can call to like get you a flight back to America? Why? It didn't even mention why she wouldn't consider going back to America. I don't know, I like understanding what a character wants and what their motivations are, even if I don't agree with their motivations or their wants. Yeah, there was that story, but other than that, very good. Recommend Drinking Coffee Elsewhere by ZZ Packer. Another short story collection is The Thing Around Your Neck. I really liked how there were short stories set in Nigeria and there were short stories set in America with Nigerian immigrant main characters. I did talk about this a few times before on this channel. I made a multicultural book recommendations video like 3 years ago now, which I'll link below. I liked every single story in this collection. There was even this story about, I didn't like the main character and I still really enjoyed the story because I felt like the main character was very well written, even though she was somebody I would never hang out with. It's a personal pet peeve of mine, but like I hate when people have to turn every conversation around in order to bring up their shitty boyfriends or their shitty ex-boyfriends. The main character had a skill for like turning everything into something about her ex-boyfriend. I was like, you are better off without him. From what you were saying, this guy's a dick. The story's about her making a friend, and again, she has that awful habit, and he calls her out on it. He's like, oh my god, not everything's about him. And she was like, you don't know what it's like to be in love with an asshole. And he was like, well, actually I do. And then He tells about this guy that he was involved with, about how awful this guy is. What do you think this main character says in response to this guy? Oh yeah, my ex-boyfriend was kind of like that. But you know, still read the stories, even that one. So I have 3 minutes of storage space left on my memory card. So that means that it is time for me to go. And I have already recorded my review of Moonlight. Hopefully by the time you see this, I will have edited it and uploaded it. So this would be my last recommendations video for Black History Month. But if I have not yet edited that review of Moonlight, then that will be my last Black History Month video. I will see you in Women's History Month, and I will recommend you things in March. So yeah, look forward to that. So yes, I will talk to you later. Bye bye.